directly out of the Bible. Just things we say to each other on a daily basis. You'll recognize all these. I mean, all these are Bible verses. You'll recognize them by the skin of your teeth. I'll give you my 2 cents worth. A leper can't change his spots. There's nothing new under the sun. Signs of the time. A thorn in the flesh. From the cradle to the grave. Handwriting on the wall. A thorn in the fly in the ointment. 257 phrases that we use on a daily basis come out of the Bible. Now, if you want to have a lot of fun, next time you go to, I don't know, Walmart or Macy's, or you go any store and you hear somebody use one of those 257 phrases, you ought to stop them right then and say, hey, do you know what Bible verse you just quoted? Of course, they won't have a clue, but the problem is they'll look at you and say, no, I don't. What Bible verse was that? And the problem is most Christians can't answer that either. Now, we used to know the address for every one of these phrases, all 257. But today we reached a point that I think is very well described by President John Quincy Adams, who says this. He says, with regard to the history contained in the Bible, it's not so much praiseworthy to be acquainted with it as it is shameful to be ignorant of it. We're actually at a point in American culture where our default position is we don't know it. If you had known all those verses up on the screen, we would have really praised you and said, wow, I can't believe you know the Bible that well. Yet back in their day, they would have said, whoa, time out. You didn't know that came out of the Bible? How can you call yourself an educated person? And the default is completely different today. There's also a great quote from President Theodore Roosevelt. By the way, you're going to see that for the next few minutes, I'm going to quote from Presidents of the United States. And I do that specifically. You might expect me or Jason Taylor or Ken Graves or Larry White or these folks you've heard, you might expect us to say good things about the Bible because we're all preachers, we're all ministers. But you don't expect presidents of the United States to be the ones that were carrying the water on the Bible for so many generations in America. But that's exactly what it was. It was our national political leaders who told us how important the Bible was. Teddy Roosevelt said this. He said, the teachings of the Bible are so interwoven and so entwined with our civic and social life. But notice he did not say our spiritual life. That's a given. Yeah, the Bible is the base of our spiritual life. He said the Bible is so much interwoven and entwined with our civic and our social life that it would be impossible for us to figure what life would be if these teachings were removed. According to Teddy, if you take out what the Bible has built in America, you wouldn't even recognize America. You see, we used to teach that our free market economic system that's made us so prosperous was the result of 5 Bible verses. Free market economic system came out of 1 Timothy 5:8, 2 Thessalonians 3:10, Matthew 20, Luke 19, Matthew 25. We also know that in the Bible presents 7 different forms of government. Our founding fathers specifically chose what was called a Republican form of government, which is why Article 4, Section 4 requires every state maintain a Republican form of government. That's exact. The founding fathers said we got that out of Exodus 18:21, out of Deuteronomy 1:15 and 16, out of Deuteronomy 16:18. They gave the passages for a Republican form of government. See, we knew that our institutions came out, and if we took the institutions out that the Bible is built, our institutions, we wouldn't even recognize America today. Another president who spoke about this is President Franklin Roosevelt. He said, in the formative days of the Republic, the directing influence the Bible exercised on the fathers of the nation is conspicuously evident unless you go to school today, and then it's conspicuously absent. There's no way you'll hear the Bible had anything to do with the founding of America. He continued, he says, we cannot read the history of our rise and development as a nation without reckoning with the place the Bible has occupied in shaping the advances of the Republic. He said there's no way you can read American history and not see what the Bible did. Now, again, you can today. It's really easy to do. But in his day, I mean, here he is again, a president of the United States as an advocate for the Bible, just telling us what we all knew in our history books. One of the great examples of this is Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin, out of our 250 founding fathers, Ben Franklin is certainly one of the least religious. Ben Franklin, really cool guy. He's an early civil rights leader. He founded the first abolition society in America and guided the abolition movement. Back in 1768, as an act of civil disobedience against King George III, he started a whole chain of schools across America to teach African Americans both the Bible and academics, which you couldn't do in British law. I mean, this guy was out in so many areas, out as a leader in so many good areas. And he's also the first guy in the history of the United States to say we ought to have a United States of America. Way back in 1754, he came up with an Albany Plan of Union and said, let's not be 13 colonies, let's be a United States. Well, it didn't happen in 1754, but in 1776, he's one of the 56 guys who signed the Declaration of Independence. Now we're getting close to having a United States of America, and he's been wanting this for 22 years. Well, 7 years later, we win the revolution, and he's one of only 3 guys who signs the peace treaty to end the revolution. Now we're getting really close, and then 4 years after that, he's sitting at the Constitutional Convention, and he's there helping create the United States of America, something he's wanted for 33 years. He's elated, and he watches as the thing goes along. As Bob talked about, we go through this thing, and it wasn't particularly going well because everybody came with their own personal state agenda. You had the New York plan, the Virginia plan, you had the Connecticut plan, you had the New Jersey plan, and guess what? Nobody wanted the Virginia plan except the guys from Virginia, and nobody wanted the New York plan except the guys from New York. So 5 weeks into this thing, they're bickering and fighting. Alexander Hamilton from New York, he's had it. He's getting out of there. He's tired of bickering with everybody. George Mason, Virginia, he's gone. Franklin watches this thing fall apart in front of his eyes. He's been wanting this for 33 years. And at that point, you see here the picture of Franklin. There he is. Franklin gave the longest speech he gave at the Constitutional Convention, Thursday, June the 28th, 1787. I want you to hear Franklin's speech. Now remember, something his heart's desire for 30